Imperial Knights. These majestic war machines fought for humanity even during the dark age of technology. Once the Knights were the vanguard of galaxy expansion. Many Xenos fell under the onslaught of the army of 10-meter walkers. Knight pilots became legends, and on the conquered worlds, many followers of these great warriors emerged. With the onset of the Age of Strife, hundreds and thousands of their worlds were left to fend for themselves, locked in endless warp storms. On those worlds where knights remained, a feudal society gradually formed. The knight pilots founded knightly houses, and their followers became servants, feeding the pilots and servicing the war machines. The knightly houses quickly rid themselves of psychers and sentient AI, thereby creating some of the safest worlds during those terrible times. In the era when the Emperor led the Great Crusade to unite the worlds of humanity, the knightly worlds largely embraced the imperial truth and swore allegiance to the Emperor, once again taking their place at the forefront of expansion forces. When the arch-traitor seduced part of the warriors of the Imperium, some knight worlds also fell into heresy, but still the majority preserved their honor and nobility and valiantly stood against the forces of the traitors. Now, many knight worlds fulfill their oath to the Emperor and protect the peace of the people of the Imperium. Knights are gigantic bipedal walkers controlled by a single pilot from among the members of a noble house. To control such a machine, the pilot connects to the throne mechanicum via neuro interfaces. These ancient devices link the pilot with the powerful spirit of the machine. However, such a connection always comes with risk. If the pilot does not possess an iron will, the spirit of the machine will deprive him of his mind and absorb his soul. In turn, this tormented mind will forever merge with the spirit of the machine and join its ancestors, testing the souls of new candidates. Modern knight houses are divided into two types: those who are loyal to the imperial truth and the Emperor Quaestor Imperialis, and those who follow the path of Omniscia and are subordinate to Mars Quaestor Mechanicus. There are also freeblades, lone warriors who, for some reason, have remained without the support of their houses, whether due to a breach of their sworn oath or the destruction of their worlds. Regarding support, in peace and in war, knights are accompanied by orders of sacristans, something between the clergy of a noble house and the tech priests of the Mechanicus. Formerly, these were novices, recruited by the Mechanicus to train specialists capable of repairing and maintaining war machines. However, over time, these novices formed their chapters, gradually gaining political power. At present, the orders of sacristans act as a counterbalance to the monarchical rule of the leaders of knightly houses. They blackmail them with the threat that if their opinion is not considered, they will simply stop servicing the knights. However, as time has shown, this has been for the better, as it prevents the rulers of worlds from making hasty or unwise decisions, birthing truth in disputes. On the battlefields, sacristans follow the knights to promptly repair the damaged warriors. The history of ancient terror has brought us tales of knightly orders clad in shining armor, always accompanied by loyal squires. Similarly, in the knightly houses of the 40th millennium, there exist entire support formations comprised of combat machines dubbed squires. Although they are 1.5 times smaller than a standard knight, they still represent a formidable force, covering their more powerful brethren in combat. The squires can be piloted by people of humble origin, typically distant relatives of the ruling family, illegitimate children, or particularly meritorious common folk. There are two types of squires: the Armiger warglaves and the Helverins. The former rush into close combat, slicing enemies with a huge chainsword and incinerating them with a thermal spear. The latter are armed with two powerful autocannons, covering the knights with suppressing fire. Both versions are additionally armed with heavy stubbers or melter guns. Now let us smoothly transition to the variants of the knights themselves, but let's clarify, there are numerous modifications of each type. Describing each of them, I risk greatly prolonging the video, so we'll just skim the surface. The most common and widespread class of knights is the Quaestoris. This class has many modifications and is specialized for various more specific tasks, but in its standard form it is a relatively balanced combat unit. Typically, on one hand, a devastating close combat weapon is mounted. On the other, one of the many shooting weapons. Near the left shoulder, a support cannon such as heavy stubbers or flamers is installed. A weapon platform for additional fire support is attached to the armour of the knight. For protection, knights are enveloped by an ion shield, and particularly vulnerable joints are further reinforced with armour made from adamantium. The Dominus class represents a heavier type of knights. They have an additional plasma core, allowing more weapons to be powered and more destructive variants to be installed. Unlike the Questoris class, Dominus can fire and shield themselves with ion shields simultaneously without switching energy streams between the two. In addition to the hand cannons, Dominuses are equipped with additional weapons on the chest, shoulders and armour. There are also rarer types of knights produced during the times of the Horus Heresy. Few of these ancient machines remain, yet they are still in service, and their firepower continues to obliterate the enemies of the Emperor. The first of such types are the knights of the Cerastus class. They are taller, possess increased speed and maneuverability. A more advanced hand structure allows Cerastus-class knights to wield melee weapons with almost the same agility as an experienced fencer. Regardless of the model, this class of knights exclusively uses melee weapons and lacks auxiliary armament. Standardly equipped, a Cerastus comes armed with a lance, and, by knightly standards of course, a handmade ion shield. Another type of ancient knights is the Acastus Knight Porphyrion. It is the largest, heaviest armoured and slowest among all knights, its size even approaching that of the Titan class. The Acastus Knight Porphyrion is armed with dual-linked Magnalas cannons, capable of incinerating an entire small army in seconds. Additionally, it can be equipped with twin autocannons or twin lascannons mounted near the head and a missile launcher on its carapace. Imperial Knights are formidable warriors within the ranks of the Imperium's forces. They are the iron fist of the Emperor, crushing his enemies. However, should those forces prove insufficient, humanity rolls out its most potent weapon, the Titans. Titans are the iron gods of war, embodying the will of the Omnissiah. They are the greatest weapon available to the Imperium for waging war on the surface of planets. To put it very simply, Titans are just a more complex and enlarged version of knights, though their production and operation are much more complex. The Collegia Titanica, the section of the Adeptus Mechanicus, oversees matters concerning Titans. The college, in turn, is divided into 4 departments. The first is the Divisio Militaris, which includes the combat orders, or Titan legions, as they are more often called, along with ground troops and support staff. At least one Titan legion is present on most Forge worlds, with particularly large worlds having several. On average, a Titan Legion consists of approximately 50 combat engines of various classes. The second department of the Collegia Titanica is the Divisio Mandati. They travel across the galaxy as part of temple fleets, bringing enlightenment to worlds not yet joined to the human galactic state. Their main argument for persuasion is the use of Emperor-class Titans. They are often accompanied by Inquisitors and representatives of the Imperium's governmental bodies. The remaining 2 departments of the Collegia Titanica are shrouded in secrecy and mystery. The Divisio Investigatus is almost entirely based on Mars, dedicated to the research and design of Titans and various improvements to their production. They only appear on the battlefield if there is a need to personally witness their work in action. The Divisio Telepathica deals with Psi Titans at secret Forge worlds. However, more on Psi Titans will be discussed later. Titans are exceedingly complicated to control. While a knight may still be piloted solo, Titans require an entire team. The most important pilot of a Titan is the Princeps. This is a member of the Mechanicus cult, specially trained over 8 years, who connects directly to the ferocious spirit of the machine through a special throne with a neuro-interface, suppressing it with their will. Connecting to the Titan, the Princeps doesn't just control the machine's body through thought alone. He feels it as his own, including the pain from enemy fire. Over time, the Princeps becomes so accustomed to the role of the Iron God that disconnecting from the neuro-interface and returning to the frail human body deals a severe blow to the pilot's sanity. Cases where Princeps voluntarily agree to have their body permanently embedded into the Titan to terrify the Emperor's foes for the remainder of their life are not uncommon. In such cases, the body is placed in an amniotic tank filled with nutrient fluid. Unnecessary organs and body parts are also removed. This process is similar to how a mortally wounded space marine is placed into a dreadnought's body. However, despite their tremendous willpower, not a single princeps can control a Titan alone. They are aided by a team of Moderati. These are auxiliary pilots who also connect to the Titan but cannot directly control it. They can only instantly receive orders from the princeps and then assist, for example, in accurately targeting the weapons. The Titan's crew also includes sensors, which provide communication and enemy detection, and helmsmen, who help control the movement process and the machine's stability. Not to mention the multitude of tech priests and servitors who monitor the Titan's condition and carry out repairs even during the heat of battle. Like knights, Titans come in various classes and modifications. The smallest among them is the Warhound class. This Titan, about 14 meters tall, serves as fire support for its larger brethren. It also carries out reconnaissance, as applicable to such immense machines. The Warhound is the only class of Titans that does not have a distinctly anthropomorphic appearance. Its armament most often includes turbo lasers, plasma blast guns or flamethrowers. Defense, on the other hand, is provided by 2 void shield generators. Already more powerful, standing over 20 meters tall, is the Reaver Titan, which is used directly for warfare. The first Reavers were created during the Age of Strife and continue to show incredible effectiveness in open combat. However, despite the thick adamantium armor and void shields, the energy reactor of this class is in a vulnerable position on its back, which can be a weak point if, of course, the enemy can penetrate through the shields and thick armor. In such a case, it can easily put the Titan out of action. The most common armament of the Reaver Titan includes a Gatling blaster and plasma blast gun, as well as a missile launcher on the carapace. Currently, Reaver Titans are almost no longer produced and are being replaced by more powerful types of Titans. Separately, it is worth mentioning the Warbringer Titan. This is something between a Reaver and a Warlord, which will be discussed further. This Titan is used to strike large targets, thanks notably to the massive Quake cannon mounted on its shoulders. With just a single projectile, a Warbringer is capable of annihilating another Titan or breaching the most fortified walls. Additionally, there are anti-aircraft systems mounted on its shoulders and arms embedded with weapons from the Raider's arsenal. These Titans are quite rare and not often encountered on the battlefields. The most common Titan, however, is the Warlord class. Its height exceeds 30 meters and its arsenal of weapons is strikingly powerful. Beyond the standard armaments for Imperial walkers held in the Titan's hands, the Warlord also boasts shoulder-mounted guns of no less caliber and supplementary weapons on its chassis. Its weaponry includes colossal versions of plasma, laser and missile arms. All of this is protected by powerful void shields. A particular modification to highlight is the Warlord Sinister. It's not just a powerful type of Titan, its strength is truly terrifying. Instead of the standard control block, the Sinister employs a Siricrux Anima, a special psychic matrix developed by the Emperor himself. Rather than using Moderati, psychers of alpha level are implanted in the Titan, and instead of a princeps, the machine is controlled by a blank, also known as pariah, a soulless human. The mere presence of powerful psychers and a pariah who is deadly to psychic beings can cause various anomalies and releases of uncontrollable energy. However, with the help of a special matrix, this energy can be directed. Besides the ability to utilize standard school psyker abilities, but on a Titan scale, the Warlord Sinister also emits an aura of incredible primordial horror. And yet, this is not its main weapon. The energy from the union of pariah and psychers is focused through potent psi cannons into beams of darkness at the target. There, a brief rift in the warp opens, instantly ripping souls from the living. Nothing can survive such a nightmarish attack. Titans of this modification are extremely rare and even more seldom deployed in battle. But when they do enter the fray, no enemy can stop these engines of death. Now, let us turn to the most colossal Titan in the arsenal of the Collegia Titanica, the super-heavy battle Titans called Emperor Titans, literally a walking castle. a true god striding among mere insects on the battlefield. Its size varies within 50-60 meters, though there are reports of even larger variants. The Adeptus Mechanicus believes these titans to be the physical embodiment of the Omnissiah. Giant cathedrals dedicated to the god Emperor are built upon their shoulders. The weaponry of the Emperor class is the largest available to ground forces, only surpassed by the guns mounted on gigantic space cruisers. Its primary weapon includes Apocalypse, missile launchers, and plasma annihilators. As for auxiliary weapons, it can use guns that are considered primary armaments for, say, the Warhound Titans. There are also specific variants, like the Vulcan Megabolter. The Emperor-class Titan is the final argument in any battle against any adversary. Not a single hundred of worlds has submitted to the will of mankind upon merely seeing even one such war machine. When the enemy sees an entire squad of such Titans, supported by smaller classes, the thought of defeat naturally occupies the entire mind. All of the above makes it clear that Titans are the crown of the Imperium's weapon mastery, and many might think that these walkers are invulnerable. On one hand, this is true, but still, every Titan always fights accompanied by squads of special types of Scitarii. The Secutarii are warriors of the Mechanicus, created exclusively for warfare alongside the Iron Titans. Secutarii are quite similar to their cousins from the standard Mechanicus infantry. They also undergo numerous operations to replace organs and body parts with cybernetics. However, an important distinction is the implantation of a field generator, which is so huge that it occupies almost the entire thoracic cage of the warrior, while also extending behind the back as a backpack. This implant generates a protective field around the warrior, deflecting blows and shots. Although its main secret is that the more such generators are next to each other, the more powerful this field becomes. Dense ranks of Secutarii are surrounded by practically an invulnerable wall, allowing them to relentlessly advance forward. The Secutarii warriors are the honored guards and the primary protection of the Titans. Their main goal is to protect the walkers from ambushes, sudden attacks, and to clear the way for the Titan. They defend supply paths and landing lines, and if a Titan falls on the battlefield, it is the duty of the Secutarii to protect it at any cost from attempts of capture or looting. The commander of the Secutarii forces is the Axiarch, a veteran of many battles, who undergoes additional augmentation, turning him more into a machine than a human. As a weapon, he can use anything available in the Mechanicus arsenal, or arm himself with an arc spear and a mag inverter shield and go in dense ranks with his soldiers. His armor is forged from parts of fallen Titans, making him a continuator of the will of the embodiment of the Omnissiah. The main units are divided into two types. The first type is the hoplites, armed with arc spears, which not only act as a power weapon in close combat, but can also shoot electrical discharges. They also carry mag inverter shields, which enhance the effectiveness of the Chiropatris field. The dense formation of hoplites relentlessly sweeps everything in its path. The second type is the peltasts. If hoplites are more needed for defense or slow advancement, the peltasts are the strike part of the Secutarii force. They are armed with galvanic casters, a special combi weapon that has various shooting modes. They are equally effective when firing at organics, as well as against armor. And they can even shoot radioactive rounds. Well then, we have now been acquainted with the most powerful part of the Adeptus Mechanicus forces,